A winter warm-up days after shivering in sub-zero wind chills. The spring-like temperatures on tap this week. I'm Macy Egland. We'll take a look at that forecast. But first, we begin with a story you'll see only in Newsday. A plan to extend a temporary tax on the wealthiest New Yorkers. Governor Kathy Hochul's budget proposal calls for extending the surcharge on earners making more than $2.1 million a year until 2032. Estimates show it will provide the state $5 billion a year in revenue over 5 more years. Today marks 3 years since the war in Ukraine began. A dozen world leaders from Europe and Canada arrived in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv today to mark the somber anniversary. Here on the island, hundreds gathered in Glen Cove yesterday, demanding an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Among them, a Great Neck South high school student who escaped the fighting in Ukraine 2 years ago.
We are all holding on to the hope that it ends as soon as possible.
More than 41,000 Ukrainian civilians have been killed or wounded in the war, according to the United Nations. Catholics here on the island and around the world continue to pray for Pope Francis today. The 88-year-old pontiff remains in critical condition in a Rome hospital. The Vatican says the Pope is alert as he battles early kidney failure, pneumonia, and a lung infection. Parishioners gathered at the Cathedral of St. Agnes in Rockville Center yesterday to pray for the pontiff.
We were together at Mass all day today, invoking prayers for him, for his health, for his well-being, but especially for his comfort, too.
At St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan yesterday, Cardinal Timothy Dolan said the Catholic faithful are, quote, united at the bedside of a dying father. The push to rebuild the East End's fragile shellfish population continues. Cornell Cooperative Extension's shellfish hatchery kicked off another oyster spawning season on Friday. The event could produce up to 15 million new oysters. Let's talk about your weather now and a taste of early spring this week. I'm excited. Mostly sunny, highs around 47 degrees at MacArthur Airport for today. That's a look at your day planner. Taking a look at tomorrow, partly sunny. Bit warmer, highs around 50 degrees. Sounds nice, right? Taking a look at your 7-day forecast, you can see that mild weather continues for the work week. We are, though, tracking some possible wet weather for you on Thursday.
Long Island weather is brought to you by PTRC.
It took 135 years for Army Private Sandy Wills to get the final salute he deserved.
He would be proud to know that his sacrifice was not in vain.
Private Wills escaped slavery and joined the United Colored Troops in 1863. When the Civil War veteran passed away in 1889, he was originally buried in an unmarked grave. His story of valor and service nearly died with him.
He was a military hero.
Until his great-great-great-granddaughter Cheryl Wills of Freeport unearthed his amazing legacy while researching her ancestry.
And that's when I found out about Sandy Wills, the brave soldier who fought for his freedom during the Civil War.
It was a personal loss that sparked Cheryl's mission to find her roots. Her father, a New York City firefighter and Vietnam veteran, died in a motorcycle accident when she was 13.
And I remember that officer getting on one knee and handing my mother the flag from his casket. And all I could think was, why wasn't Sandy's widow given the same honor? Why? Because they were former slaves? Why? Because they were invisible in this country?
The journalist put her skills to work, digging up Private Wills' slavery and military records from the National Archives. The documents provided the details of her ancestor's life from birth to death, except his gravesite.
That was a gut punch. It really was a gut punch. Like, how can a veteran with all of these records be MIA?
Her break came when a distant cousin who was also tracing his lineage found the plantation in Brownsville, Tennessee, where Private Wills worked as a sharecropper after the Civil War. The landowner told them former slaves were buried in a hillside on the 900-acre property.
And I really believe in my heart he wanted to be found.
Last May, Cheryl hired a team of archaeologists to dig up Private Wills's grave. They found bone fragments and confirmed his remains.
To hold the remains of someone who did so much and was forgotten, and then to recommit him, was something that I will hold on to as long as I live.
A headstone now marks Private Wills's final resting place at West Tennessee State Veterans Cemetery. For his great-great-great-granddaughter, a fitting end to a war hero's story.
It meant everything just to say, thank you, grandfather, for your service.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
See more Black History Month stories on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
Only in Newsday, Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine says he has big plans for his second year in office.
I've watched the state. The state has lost more population than any other state in the United States. We have lost some population on Long Island, but not as bad as the rest of the state. But if we don't provide a couple things, we're not going to have a bright future. First thing is jobs and economic development so people have income. And the second thing is we have to provide housing, but particularly workforce housing, affordable housing, whatever you want to call it. Housing that people starting out at some point in their life can buy a house or a condo or a townhouse or afford an apartment.
70-year-old says he also has big plans focused on rebuilding the county's infrastructure and improving water quality through sewer expansion and water reuse projects.
Right now, everyone's talking about water quality. At some point, we should be talking about water quantity. So the sewer treatment plants that we will build will be tertiary in nature. They will recharge our aquifer. It's so important to do that.
Now, on public safety, Romaine's budget adds 220 police officers, which amounted to a net gain of about 90 to 95 factoring retirements. Earlier this month, lawmakers approved his pick for police commissioner, Kevin Catalina.
You can read more about Ed Romaine's first year in office on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
This season for the Knicks has always been based on where they go in the postseason. After you make the Eastern Conference semifinals 2 years in a row, you make the kind of major moves that they made in this offseason. The test for you is how far you go, if you can go further than you went before. So championship is the goal. Eastern Conference Finals is the first goal to get there. The Knicks, with the final 28 games after the All-Star break, face a real test. They'll have 5 games against the Celtics and Cavaliers. They'll have a 5-game West Coast trip. They have all kinds of tough tests coming up here. And they didn't make any major moves at the trade deadline. The only big move they made is they're hopefully getting back Mitchell Robinson, who's missed the entire season so far. He may not be a trade acquisition or a free agent, but getting back a player of that caliber could be the biggest difference maker for a team as they head down the stretch here. Because the one difference for the Knicks this season has been the defense has not been what it was in the past. Offense just fine with Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, but a healthy OG Anunoby, a healthy Mitchell Robinson could really make a difference for this team heading down the stretch. So as they head to the postseason, it's going to be based on really one thing, the health of those guys coming back and the health of the players who've played a lot of minutes so far this season, showing that they can last into the postseason this time. So this is Steve Popper for NewsdayTV.
All right, read more about the Knicks on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
Newsday Sports is brought to you by Sun Nation Energy, helping Long Islanders save on their energy bills for over 20 years.
I'm Macy Eglins. Thanks for watching Newsday TV. Hope you have a great day.